Last week, I told you the 8 repairs I'd never let my clients spend money on before selling. If you haven't watched that one yet, go check it out after this one. It'll save you thousands. But today, I'm flipping the script. These are the fixes I tell every single seller to make because unlike a kitchen gut job or a new roof, these actually pay you back. Some of these cost less than $100 and still do more for your sale than a $30,000 renovation ever will. I'm Vallario with eXp Realty, and I've spent 22 years in Maryland real estate watching sellers make 2 kinds of mistakes. Either they spend money on the wrong things, which I covered last week, or they don't spend money on the right things, which is what's costing them today. Both mistakes end with the same result: less money in your pocket at closing. Here's the rule flipped. Last week it was, don't spend unless you're getting 2 or 3 times your money back. This week, it's the other half of that same coin. There's a short list of projects where that return is almost guaranteed, where the cost is low, the buyer impact is high, and the risk is basically zero. These are the ones worth writing a check for every time, no exceptions. If you do nothing else on this list, do this one. A fresh coat of neutral paint is still the single highest return move in real estate, and it's not by little. The National Association of Realtors has said it for years. The top selling agents recommend a full interior repaint before listing, and it consistently ranks as one of the top value adds a seller can make for the money. Here's why it works so well. Paint doesn't just cover flaws, it resets the buyer's brain the second they walk through the door. A freshly painted home signals well maintained before a buyer has read a single word of your listing, before they've opened a closet, before they've asked a single question. It's the fastest, cheapest way to buy trust. Stick to warm neutrals, grayish, soft white, warm taupe, maybe a deeper tone on one accent wall if the room calls for it. Not only because neutral is trendy right now, but because it lets buyers picture their own furniture and their own life in the space instead of yours. I've watched buyers walk out of a home because the seller's choice of paint colors turned them off, even when the bones of the house were perfect. Don't let color cost you a buyer who otherwise would have said yes. Budget $2,000 or $3,000 for a full interior repaint. More if ceilings need attention too. If your exterior siding or trim is faded, caulky, or chipped, add exterior paint to the list as well. Curb appeal starts at the color of your front elevation, and a buyer's opinion of your home is often fully formed before they've even opened the car door, and faded paint is the first thing that tells them that the house hasn't been cared for. This is the cheapest big win on the entire list, and it's one people constantly underestimate. A new steel door, or even just refinishing and repainting your existing one, is one of the highest ROI projects in the cost versus value report. It's the same principle as the garage door I mentioned last week. Small, visible, and disproportionately impactful for what it costs. Buyers touch your front door before they touch anything else in your home, before the agent unlocks it, before anyone steps inside. That door is already telling a story. A scratched, faded, or dated door creates hesitation before a buyer has even crossed the threshold, and first impressions in real estate are brutally hard to undo once they're formed. A bold, clean color like a deep navy, a matte black, a forest green paired with new hardware and a clean house number costs a few $100s total and completely changes that first impression. I've had buyers comment on the curb appeal before they've said a word about the kitchen. That's how much weight this one small detail carries. I mentioned this one last week from the other direction because it deserves its own moment here because the numbers are genuinely hard to beat. A new garage door returns close to 194% of what you spent, according to the cost versus value report, which makes it one of the single best investments in your entire home, selling or not. If yours is dated, dented, streaked, or a mismatched color compared to your siding, replacing it is one of the few projects on this entire list where I'd tell you to do it, even if you weren't selling anytime soon. It's curb appeal, resale value, and daily enjoyment rolled into one project, and most homeowners never think about it until a video like this one is put in front of them. This is the fix with the best return of anything on this list because it costs almost nothing and the impact is enormous. Professional deep cleaning, carpet cleaning, and a genuine declutter of every single room routinely ranks at the top of agents' recommendations for pre-listing prep, and it costs a fraction of nearly anything else we've talked about today. Buyers can't unsee clutter. Cluttered kitchen countertops make buyers feel like the kitchen doesn't have enough space, and overcrowded rooms make the entire home feel smaller. When buyers see countertops covered with small appliances, mail, and everyday items, they make snap judgments based on what is in front of them, not on how spacious the home could actually feel. Pack away half of what's sitting on your shelves. Clear every counter down to 2 or 3 intentional items. Rent a storage unit for a month if you have to. It's cheaper than a price reduction and pays for itself many times over. Then bring in a professional deep clean before your very first showing. Top to bottom, baseboards and grout included, appliances, your stove, your refrigerator, everything, your microwave. This is the one item on this list with genuinely no downside and close to zero financial risk. This one is also inexpensive and gives you a great return for your money. Buyers notice updated finishes immediately, even if they can't always explain why a room feels fresh or even dated. Swap outdated brass fixtures for something more current, like brushed nickel, matte black, or a warm gold. You can also update the cabinet hardware in the kitchen and bathrooms. A simple handle swap can make the entire space feel years newer without replacing a single cabinet. Make sure every room has bright, warm lighting, and don't underestimate how much a dim or yellow-toned bulb can drag down an otherwise beautiful room. This entire category, fixtures, hardware, and bulbs combined, can often run a few $100 total across the whole house, and it changes how updated your home feels room by room without touching a single wall, without a single permit, without a single contractor. If your floors are in decent shape, don't rip them out. Clean and buff hardwood back to a shine. Do a deep professional carpet clean in every room and replace flooring only in the 1 or 2 spots where it's truly damaged or beyond saving, not throughout the entire house. A refresh can get the visual impact of a full replacement for a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the timeline. It also keeps you out of the exact trap I warned you about last week, pouring money into one beautiful, brand new space while the rest is noticeably dated. Consistency matters more than perfection. A buyer walking across clean, well-maintained original floors feels far better than a buyer walking from stunning new flooring into a room that suddenly feels older by comparison. Now let's talk about curb appeal basics, not landscaping, basics. Mow the lawn, edge the beds, lay down fresh mulch, trim back overgrown shrubs, and pressure wash the driveway, the walkway, and the siding. This is the outdoor equivalent of the interior declutter. Cheap, fast, and it's the very first thing every single buyer sees before they've stepped a foot inside your home. You don't need a new deck, a redesigned yard, or an elaborate hardscape project to make a strong first impression. You need it to look cared for, intentional, and tidy. I've watched buyers form an opinion about a home's condition before they even reached the front door, purely based on how the yard and driveway present. And that opinion is almost impossible to fully recover once it's set. A weekend of yard work and a rented pressure washer can shift that entire impression for less than $200. Here's the thing both of these videos are really about. It's never about spending more, and it's never about spending less. It's about spending on purpose. Every dollar on this list earns its place back at closing, sometimes several times over. Every dollar on last week's list usually doesn't, no matter how good it makes the house look in the moment. So before you write a check in either direction, talk to a realtor who actually knows your market, not a national average, not a general contractor's guess, your specific street and your specific buyer pool. I'm here in Maryland, and if you're outside my area, I've got a trusted network of agents across the country I'm happy to personally connect you with. Someone who will tell you the truth about what your home actually needs, not just what sells you a bigger renovation bill. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or relocating to Maryland, my contact information is in the box below. Let's make sure every dollar you spend before listing goes exactly where it pays you back. Thanks again for staying until the end, and please don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one.